interactive and who are the most influential and who has got more of a film, film knowledge. But also now, I mean, the number of agencies that represent social influencers are, they are all just popping up out of nowhere.
God, they have their own agencies now.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow. Okay. So do you get many?
Yeah, they're represented by agents. They've got publicists. They've got you name it. They've got somebody negotiating something for them.
It sounds a little bit more like kind of the Wild West from a PR point of view now. Like you said before, there was the traditional methods, like you knew it would be newspapers, magazines, TV channels, but now there can be things popping up online from nowhere that all of a sudden have their own rules they play by.
Yeah, it's something that's grown at a really seriously high rate, and I think everybody's kind of learning on the go. It's something that we've been doing for a while. We have eyes on, and we work with a number of some of the key influencers that we feel are best to represent a lot of the kind of films that we work for. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time now, people just get away with it. Well, not get away with it, but we'll have a large allocation to invite social influencers to a premiere and that kind of thing, which is great for them, great for us, because they're kind of posting about it to all their followers, and they're at a more glamorous event where we don't necessarily have to kind of like guarantee access to talent, because with a lot of these influencers, they aren't people that we've worked with on a regular basis, but they're journalists that we've worked with over so many years that are totally trusted. A lot of these influencers we haven't worked with before. And, sometimes you just need to be a little bit careful about who's interviewing who.
Sure.
From your film delegation. And a lot of the time you have to send through examples, and these people haven't, a lot of these influencers or haven't had a lot of experience in film and in interviewing, A-list talent. But that's something that's massively growing. You look at a junket schedule now, and it's a real mix of, depending on, if you look at a Wrinkle in Time junket schedule, it's a huge mix of, social stuff, and a lot of film companies actually kind of create their own social content that they'll then feed out to various social influencers to put on their various channels. Mm-hmm. Mixing with radio, with TV, with traditional print and online. But it's looking at being more creative. If you look at the first release of Isle of Dogs, where's Anderson's new film, which is a film that we're working on at the moment, what they're doing, some of their social stuff is really clever. When they did that, if you look on the Instagram site, they did a it was a poster, but it was on Instagram, but it moved and it had sound.
Oh, right.
So it wasn't just like a traditional. It wasn't. I mean, it was a still, but the film is about these dogs that are all exiled to this island in Japan. It's brilliant. And all the dogs start one by one coughing. It's just really clever, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that.
Okay.
So I think there's definitely a way, the way that films are being marketed to a social and an audience of people that are just, getting through content at such a fast rate to try and keep them engaged in anything for longer than a couple of seconds is really tough. Mm. So they definitely have their work cut out for them.
It sounds like absolutely. The other question I was going to ask you, which is maybe a little more, I'm curious of your opinion on it. Being someone that works in PR, is with everything that's happened with Mr. Weinstein and the Me Too movement and Time's Up, has the and with, say, for example, like Kevin Spacey being pulled out of a film and replaced by Christopher Plummer, and House of Cards replacing Kevin Spacey as well, has the PR landscape around film changed at all over the last few months that you've noticed?
What do you mean landscape?
Well, I'm not entirely. I guess I wonder if, It was more like, say, for example, if there was a project you guys would be involved with, and then it turns out somebody involved with that project has been accused of something. I mean, is the PR companies kind of having to be a lot more, I don't know, careful than before, or has anything changed at all?
I mean, I don't know about if Jonathan has, but I am not something that's been brought to any of our attention on the team. But we currently don't seem to have had any involvement in any films that have been tainted by any of these allegations. You know, it wasn't a time that we were working on any Kevin Spacey films or with Weinstein or anything. So we haven't been directly affected in that manner, that it's been suddenly a crisis of, you know, for the team that were working on All the Money in the World. Yeah. It wasn't suddenly that was one of ours, and it was like, you know, oh shit, what, you know, how are we gonna look to PR this now because of, you know, as everything that's happened. So we haven't really been directly affected. Obviously, you are affected in a way of nobody, you know. Suddenly there's huge amounts of interest for news press to get access to A-list talent because they want a quote on their opinion on the Spacey story or their opinion on the Weinstein story. So that became hugely apparent that actually no one was really, you know, especially if you had a smaller film that, you know, whatever news channel wouldn't necessarily have covered because it's just not on their radar enough, but it was like, oh, and so talent is involved in it, well, it would be great to get her opinion on it. Then it was suddenly treading carefully about that, because obviously it was a conversation that you didn't want to mute and you didn't want to stop happening, but at the same time obviously you want to be protecting the people that you're working with, and you don't want your small independent film to become, you know, shadowed around this scandal that actually has nothing to do with your film. And as much as you don't want people to not be talking about it because it's an extremely important conversation, but you know how you do that. But that's really that's a personal publicist. That's something that they need to be discussing with their talent and how they want their clients to be handling those kind of questions and what you want to be talking about and what you want to say.
Sure, yeah, of course.
So, yes, at the time there were a lot of sensitivities in terms of how much people wanted to talk about it, and I think there was a concern that it was such big, you know, it was such new news to everybody, and if you didn't say the right thing, then what you can say can be so quickly taken out of context, used in another way. So I think it was quite. I don't know. It must have been potentially quite a precarious time for people to be doing press, because you know you don't want to be saying the right thing. You want to be as educated as you possibly can about each and every situation as that news was breaking, which is impossible when you're doing a press tour because you barely have 5 minutes to yourself.
I can only imagine.
Absorb as much information as you can about, you know, a horrific situation that was getting larger and larger by the second. Yeah. So yeah, there was absolutely that. But we've again been lucky enough that we haven't been working on any films directly touched by any of that scandal.
Oh, well, for you, I'm glad for that. That's happened because, it would be quite, exactly. You'd hate to be on that team that gets that phone call. No, well, sorry for the curveball there. I was just very interested to know your opinion on that. Well, I think I've asked all the things I was going to. Thank you so much for the time you've given me today. I really appreciate it. I realise I've kept you for an hour. I'm very sorry. That's very good of you. I'll type all this up and I'll send it over to you so you can see it before it goes live or anything like that, and then we can change anything you're not happy with. And I will try and get that to you hopefully by the end of next week, if that would be okay.
I mean, obviously it's no rush for me, so just whenever. And if there's obviously anything that when you're